One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very special On the Fast Lane podcast. I am your host, Brady Hauser. On today's show, we have a sportsman driver that races at Malta. You might know his brother a little, I'm not going to say a little more, but his brother is a pro stock driver by the name of Kim Duell. But we have you have Kim's brother on tonight, which is Scott Duell. And Scott is a sportsman driver, Kim is a pro stock driver. We're looking to get Kim on the show coming soon. We'll talk about that afterwards. But Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So a little brief rundown. How did your 2020 season go for you?
I'll start by correcting you on one thing. That's my dad, Kim is.
Oh.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're close.
Oh.
He had me young, but we're close. But he's my dad. 2020 was good in ways, bad in other. It was a learning curve with the coil car, for sure. So I couldn't say I complained a lot, but we could have had a lot better finishes than we showed.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of the racetracks that you visited in the 2020 season?
Started off with practicing at Devil's Bowl Speedway, because they were the first ones to get rolling. Then Albany, Saratoga, and Glen Ridge. We visited, I'm trying to think, we didn't get up to Fondo or the Valley, so it was pretty limited on what we did. I mean, we ran those three tracks.
Okay, hold on one second.
My daughter, I've been once in a while. She's one and wanders.
So, looking at the 2021 season, was there any races that were like very special to you this past season that you got to race in?
Biggest one we got to be a part of was my brother-in-law promoted a race at Devil's Bowl with the big block, small block challenge there that they have, and just to be a part of it and be around for that, to see him succeed in what he's doing and stuff was really cool. So glad to be able to support it.
Mm-hmm. So looking onto the 2021 season, what are your plans moving on for the 2021 season?
We're still going to be with Dick Bisson. That's my car owner. He lives up here in Pownell, Vermont, and he brought me back again. I'm lucky enough to have that ride again this year. We're just revamping some equipment, and we actually been pretty lucky and won a couple raffles and actually ended up with a car and another motor and a frame. So we're beefing up the equipment and getting things ready for this year, and going to do much of the same.
Mm-hmm. So you get to race at Albany Saratoga Speedway, and like you said, the Ridge and a couple other tracks. This year, COVID was very crazy, and there was a lot of changes that had to happen at the racetracks. One was being no fans allowed in the stands. Was there a difference for you on a driver's aspect of not having fans in the stands?
Yeah, I love the fans. I think that's part of it. As a kid growing up, I was a fan, and just not seeing them there, I don't know, it leaves a little bit of an empty feeling in your stomach, and you still race when the green flag drops. You don't pay attention to it, and you drive and do your job, but just rolling out there at the beginning of the night for practice or the heat races and seeing nobody there is just, it's empty. And I enjoy talking to people after the races and the fans that come into pits and stuff like that, so I miss that part of it as well, missing seeing some friends from the stands. So hopefully we can get back to something like that this year.
Mm-hmm. So what got you started into racing? I know you mentioned your dad, Kim, is a pro stock driver. We all know him as well as you. Was he one of the main reasons you got into racing, or is there just something that you was like, man, I want to be a part of racing? What was it for you?
No, absolutely. He basically brought me to the track since I was a baby, and grew up there, and my grandfather actually raced, so it's been in the family for a long time. And when I was old enough, my dad bought me a go-kart and got me into it. I took a little bit of time off in high school to play football and baseball, and as soon as I graduated, I took my graduation money, instead of saving it, and bought a street stock and ran a little bit there with that. Then we moved into a pro stock and so on and so forth, and kept going up through the ranks.
Mm-hmm. I have the picture of your pro stock from, looks like it's got to be a couple years old at least, looking at the camera lens. back in the number 14 when you ran the 14 in the blue and yellow pro stock. So you and your dad both have experience inside of a pro stock, which is probably neat for you to get the races. Know what he's talking about when he comes to you. Do you remember or something, or is there something that I need to do different and work on for advice? Is that big for you getting to share the tracks, being able to go to the racetracks with your dad?
Oh, absolutely. That was a big part of it. My dad drove Fender cars for a long time, got a lot of wins in them, and I didn't spend a lot of time in them. That was the picture you have is 2005. I was teammates with Joey Santoro and drove for Joe Lazaro, and we had a dream season that year in that car. We had 11 feature wins and a track championship between two different tracks, so it was a lot of fun. Joey had 10 wins as well, so as a team we had 21, and something you won't forget. But yeah, it's one of those things when Dad comes in, we can talk about things and might even get a chance to jump back in one of the pro stocks this year because he's building another car that's going to be a coil car, and said that for a few of the big shows he'd like to put me back in the seat of one. So why not?
So I see another pic. I'm showing a lot of your pictures right now. I see a picture. You got to run the short track super series. What was that event for you, getting to race with the drivers that come from all around the country? They come and race for Brett Deo's short track super series. What was that like?
Fun. Anytime you get to run those races, it's a lot of fun because you just, like you said, you run against guys you don't run against, and he seems like you always got to up your game for that because any tour series that comes in, their top drivers are on their game and they know what's going on. They know what to do with their cars and different track surfaces, and their experience at other tracks helps them a ton. So getting to run against them guys was a lot of fun, and we had a good night. Ended up third.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, we're good. Just wanted to make sure we were filming because that would stink. All right. So I also see another. I'm just like I said, I'm showing off all the pictures. I see you ran the 00 for a little bit with the Lazaro's 00. What was that? So what was that deal about? And when did you race that race car?
Basically, I started driving for Joe in 2005. At the end of 2004, he helped us out with the pro stock a little bit, and Joey and I were best friends, and he asked me if I'd be interested in being teammates with him, and him and I became teammates for 2005. Like I said, won all them races, and then 2006 we went open wheel racing. He bought sportsman cars, and at that time Albany Saratoga didn't have crates. It was just 358s. It was a small block, and that was the sportsman division. So jumped into that and ran a couple seasons. When Joey got out, his ride was the 00 ride, so we had an extra car. We had a modified engine at the time, so I ran Devil's Bowl Speedway in the modifieds with that car, and ended up getting rookie of the year up there with it.
Mm-hmm. So you also raced the Datsun number 14. I know Brian Pesolano is their other driver that they have at the Dodson's team. What was that like, getting to like be teammates with Brian? Because he's got a lot of experience in the racing world.
Brian's great. Rich and Donna, the whole family, they were super good to me. We had a lot of fun, and actually won probably my biggest race to date, I'm thinking, because it was a $3,000 to win race at Malta for 50 laps, and we ended up winning that. But being teammates with Brian was a lot of fun. Brian and I became pretty close, and I actually drove for him the following season in the black and orange 14 that he bought. So it was a good time. I wish we could have kept doing it, but just distance for me to drive down to Kansas area was a little bit much, and now I'm further away because I live in Bennington, Vermont, so it wasn't feasible. So we moved on and did things.
Mm-hmm. So you've said you've raced at Fonda, the Ridge, Albany, Saratoga, Devil's Bowl, and there's probably many other tracks you've raced at. Do you have a favorite racetrack, and if so, why is it your favorite?
Brewerton. Probably Brewerton. That place is super fast when it's wet and tacky, and it's you got to get up on the wheel and go hard, and I like racetracks like that. So Brewerton is one of my favorite because of the surface, because of the facility, the history behind it. I don't know. I like it. It's cool. It's got a paper clip at one end, and then you stand on it at the other end.
Mm-hmm. So I am one of the announcers up at Glen Ridge, and you, like you said, you went there a couple of times this year. I think I missed a week you were there because probably something came up. But what's the Glen Ridge compared to other tracks like Albany, Saratoga, and Devil's Bowl? Glen Ridge is a lot tinier. What's that track like as a driver racing Glen Ridge and then going over to Devil's Bowl, and they're like completely different racetracks. What's that like?
For sure. Glen Ridge is demanding as hell. It's again another track that you're up on the wheel. It's funny because when you race Albany, Saratoga, Devil's Bowl, yeah, it's definitely a workout. But when you're at the ridge, you could run a 10 lap heat race, and it's like you're wore out afterwards. You're like, oh my god, you needed a break. Put your head against the headrest while you're going around that place, especially when it's tacky because that's another fast racetrack. But I like it. It's close quarters racing. When I was there last year, we had terrible luck and got in a couple of jingles, but I do enjoy the place. It's fun. One of the most fun times I've had there was when they had the 602 Nationals, and it was a 150 lapper. I think we ended up fifth that night in that race, and it was a lot of work, but
Well,
it was fun.
yeah, I know that racetrack well enough. Like you said, to do 10 laps, it's gruesome. It's gruesome enough on your body. And I could only imagine adding 140 more to that and racing at that racetrack. That track. The good thing about that track for me is, first of all, it's not as popular for me personally. I get to like that's a great start for me announcing up there, and they get some of the more decent drivers up on that racetrack. Like it's cool to have Andrew Buff and you, for example, and a couple other guys coming up there every week. And that track, I'll tell you what, it's probably one of the best tracks for racing. I'm gonna be honest, even though because it's so like you said, it's so close quarters. It's if only thing is if you get turned around, there's no giving what's gonna happen if you spin out.
Yeah,
Because
there's no place to hide there.
I've seen it before. I've seen it when Chad Edwards took the entire field out in the front stretch. So I know how that racetrack goes. So I'm gonna give a mention to another guy that you were talking to because he commented. I don't know who this guy is. John Miller commented. You got to race his race car for a little bit. Actually, he has two race cars. You got to race one of his race cars. What was that? What was it like getting to work with John race his number 12?
John was great. It was in a time where I didn't have a ride at all. I didn't even know what I was going to do that season. With buying a house, getting married, and just didn't expect anything. And John asked me if I was interested in driving. He was going to help me out a little bit and let me take one of his cars. And I jumped in his backup car, basically, his older car. And that car was, I want to say in 2006, it was 10 years old, 11 years old, and it had a 3-year-old motor in it. And we ended up getting a feature win with it. Won the, I can't remember what
Malta.
race at Malta.
Yep.
And got Marty Kelly with one to go. And that car handled good. There was nothing wrong with that car. I liked it. And it was a lot of fun. They were a good time. John and his father and the whole crew, it was one of those situations again. We were going to drive for them the following year, but Dick, with the Bissett team up here, he offered me the ride. It's so close to home. For me, with having a 1-year-old now, I wanted to be closer to home. So we parted ways as friends. We're still friends and still talk to the track and do all that stuff, but it was a good time.
Mm-hmm. So during the COVID season, a lot of things happened where, like I said, the tracks had to do all these, like the shifted gears, all this stuff they had to do. But during then, a lot of the short track Super Series, Empire Super Sprints, World of Outlaws even, and NASCAR all decided to jump over to iRacing. Did you happen to chance to try iRacing or watch any of the iRacing events? And what is your thoughts on iRacing?
Yeah, I have a setup myself. I jumped into a couple of those races last year. The Dirt Track Digest one that they had, a couple different ones that they had, the big ones that I tried to qualify. We didn't make them. Fields are pretty stout when there's 100 entries in them, and it's a tough deal. iRacing is not easy for sure, but it's a lot of fun. Ever since the big block modifieds and the small blocks came out, there's a ton of us on there that are racing against each other weekly that end up finding one another in these rooms, and we race and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about that afterwards. I'll get you into my server and all that stuff. I'll probably hop in a server with you one of these days.
For sure.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to start a league myself.
So you got to contact me on that. So you got to start Super Dirt Week. You got to start at Syracuse Mile for a couple years in the Super Dirt Week series. What was rate? What I know it's sad what happened to it in 2015, but you got to. I see the picture 2008 with GT Smith, one of our guys, DTD. What was that like getting to race the mile? I know it's got so much prestige to everybody. What was that racetrack like? Just even getting to pull into that pits and just seeing the grandstands and looking up at it and be like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, that place was it holds unbelievable meaning to a lot of people. I was there when I was 9 years old. My dad would take me out for the weekend, and he used to tell me the same theory as Vegas. What happens in Syracuse stays in Syracuse in Super Dirt Week. So I learned that quick. Had a lot of fun out there though, and I got to race a pro stock there, a sportsman car and a 358 car. Best finish was in a pro stock. I finished fifth in the big race, and then in a sportsman car, the best I did was a ninth from 21st, and we had a lot of fun. I enjoyed the place. I know a lot of people didn't like it because it's not what we do on a weekly basis, but it was a different animal. It was a different type of racing, and you had to have a different mindset going into it. And I always enjoyed the preparation for it, though, and like you said, the grandstands and just the big stage. It was a lot of fun, and hate to see it go. Hate that it's gone. I enjoy Oswego. It's fun too, but it's not Super Dirt Week at Syracuse. So it's still great. Like I said, it's a cool thing. Appreciate what Dirt does for the drivers and putting it on, but there will never be another mile again.
Well, I did hear. I mean, I'm gonna be real. I've heard some things that the Milwaukee Mile. This is actually just a fact. The Milwaukee Mile was based off of Super Dirt Week, so
Yep.
that's down in Milwaukee, and they have like the ARCA cars and the midgets and all that stuff go down there. I mean, yeah, Milwaukee's a little ways away from us, but it would be. I mean, I think here's my opinion with the iRacing thing. They need to bring the mile to the game. If they bring the mile to the game over.
They said the same thing. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet because there's a couple tracks they could scan that would be very much like the fairgrounds, and they could probably do something with it. You may see it. You never know.
I would love to. I know that there's talk about Port Royal, a couple other big racetracks, but I think this if they can get the Syracuse Mile on that game, because they can do if they've done it with Rockingham and North Wilkesboro, they can sure as heck do it with the Syracuse Mile. So, all right. So I also see I'm showing one more picture right now, and then I'll just leave it. Stuart Friesen's car, the Tad Parks #1, and then the XIV. What's going on in that picture, and what were you doing at that racetrack?
That was Fonda. I ran a full season at Fonda back in 2011 in the modifieds. That was my second year in the mods, and that was Joe Lazaro's car again that I drove. I believe that picture is from a 75 lap Rumble on the River race that they had a series race that night, and that's probably Stewie going to the front, and I was a part of it. I was the other guy getting slam dunked down there, but nope, just one of the modified races I was in, and we ended up, I think, 9th or 10th in that race, and Stewie probably won it, or I want to say maybe Timmy McCready. I can't remember who won that race, but no, we ran a full season in the mods at Fonda. It was a lot of fun. We didn't have the money for motors, tires that we should have been, and probably had no duty being there with them guys, but it was fun. We tried.
So here's my next question for you, saying that you just saying you raced a modified, and you're racing the Creek Sportsman. Is there a difference? I know there's a difference, but what's the difference for you from racing a modified and then racing a sportsman car as well?
Obviously, we know there's a power difference in them cars. I feel like a crate car can be a lot harder to drive at times, just because we don't have the power to get us out of trouble. Everybody's so equal, and when a track is a little bit tacky, it becomes really hard to pass. So to move forward and have years like Rocky's had, Timmy Hartman as a recent buff, these guys are really got their stuff together, because it's hard to get more than 3-4 wins a season, and they're ripping off 9-10, and they're showing that they got the talent to do this. And I don't know, it's a tough deal. That both classes are hard in their own way, but I enjoy the crate racing, and there's plenty of drivers in the crate division that I feel like if given the opportunity, they can definitely shine in the modifieds.
I'm definitely looking to see where, like you said, Andrew Buff, because Andrew Buff has he a couple years ago I was a little like, does this kid got potential? But just this past 2 years, he's really stepped up his game, and he's honestly, I'm gonna say it, he's one of the best sportsman drivers in New York right now. Between him, Hartman, and I mean, we also got Tanner Van Dorn, who's 12 years old. He's moving his way. He's moving his way up through the ranks. So it's like there's gonna be, if some of these sportsman guys get like rise in the modifieds, they're gonna be potential to be the next Stuart Friesen. That's what I think is awesome about the sportsman division.
Sure.
Especially I'm good friends with Tanner Van Dorn, so I know I've gotten to talk to him a lot, and he ordered a small block for next year, so I'm interested to see how he does for that. And then I mean, if he goes into a big block, he might be tough to beat. He might be one of those kids that's gonna be like, hey, I might be 14 or 15, but I can show you guys who's boss. Alright, so the next topic, I know you guys, all racers, dread talking about it. It's the unfortunate part of racing. It happens. As they say, shit happens. And, when you wreck and you spin or you destroy your race car, what's going through your mind?
How much that's going to cost? I guess I'm lucky enough that I have had rides for a long time now, but even with that, I don't want to tear anybody's equipment up. And you don't even worry about your safety, so to speak, as much as you do the work that goes into the car, the equipment that's being broke or bent. So that's the part that sucks. That's the part that goes through my head, is that you hate to have to fix something from somebody's stupidity or your own stupidity, but it's part of the game. It happens.
Mm-hmm. So, is there any like incidents? If you don't have to talk about it, but is there any incidents that you've had that have been memorable to you?
Wreck-wise, I've had a few. I've been upside down 3 different occasions, and probably that XIV car that you saw me with at Fonda. I got turned around going through 3 and 4 and backed it into the wall basically at full speed and ended up flipping, and that was not fun. It was a minor concussion deal. Good one that one was.
Yeah, Fonda's, because Fonda's also one of my local tracks, and I go there. I try to go there every week, and I can say Fonda is. If you hit any wall at Fonda, it's pretty much unforgiven. You just hold on. I've seen wrecks at Fonda at pretty much every part of that racetrack. I've seen cars flip over in turn 1. I saw a sprint car flip over the fence in turn 1. Dave Franek. I've seen Tony Ferrone coming off of 4. I've seen it all at that racetrack. So I can tell you, Fonda is kind of the most unforgiving. I've been there, done that, seen that. It's the unfortunate part of racing, but yeah, we still have to talk. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I could. Yeah, but Fonda, it does produce really good racing on a great night. If it's a little rough, you might have a couple cars go out into that wall, and you're gonna see a couple cars get airborne. It happens, but it's the part of racing, and that's just what all race car drivers have to really go through as a driver. All right, good look. So, is there a reason why you raced the number 14? Why is the number 14 so prestige to your career?
Just a family thing. My grandfather, when he got back from World War II, they ran coops at White's Beach, and he was part of a team that actually had the number 14. And my father ran it through his whole career, so obviously growing up as a kid, I wanted to be like that, and ended up taking the 14 and had it ever since. I've been and I've ran a few different numbers through my career because of car owners and stuff like that, like the 12 and 00 and 5, but
Yeah.
always came back to my number.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask that you kind of just try to keep your phone a little still. You're kind of jumping out of connection. Um, so have you ever gotten
Sorry.
the? Yeah, you're good. You ever gotten the chance to race like? If you ever got, or should I say, if you ever got the chance to race like Evolution Nationals or go down to Charlotte for the big races or Eldora and get to race there, are you gonna do it?
Maybe someday. Um, if this whole COVID stuff wasn't going on, I think we'd be making the trip to Florida. But just with not being able to have our car owner work at the moment, like full time, and sponsorship being tight right now, we can't do those trips as much as we'd like to. But maybe someday.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the speaking of Charlotte, Eldora, Volusia, what are some of the dream tracks that even if you don't race at, you get to go and visit and watch? What are some of the dream tracks you'd like to go visit and check out?
I'd love to go to Knoxville to
Mm-hmm.
watch the Nationals. Huge sprint car fan, and hopefully get to drive one someday. But the Knoxville Nationals would be on the bucket list. I got to go to Eldora and watch the Dream there with the late models, so that was on the bucket list, and that one's off now. But Knoxville's probably my top one.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a nickname by any chance? This could be a funny story if you got a nickname.
Yeah, they typically at Albany Saratoga when they announce, they always say the high side hustler is what I get dubbed a lot of times, and that's just due to the fact that I end up on the top most of the time.
Okay. So I'm assuming that's probably sounds like something Dan Martin would start because Dan Martin is great at making nicknames for everybody. I started a nickname for a couple of I started some nicknames for a couple of drivers as well.
Yeah, I think it was him, Mike Warren, and like Rob Hazer all together, collaboration type thing. Ended up coming up with that one, and like I said, it's live or die. I usually like to go to the cushion.
Hold on, you're having a little bit more technical difficulties. I'm gonna give it a quick second to just start to cool off.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. Um, if you could race against any driver, past or present, it could be any series, any division. Who would it be and why?
Wow, that's a tough one. That's a good question. I'd have to say World of Outlaws sprint cars, and I'd love to be able to race against somebody like Jack Haudenschild or Steve Kinzer.
Jack Hoggenshield's kid, as a matter of fact, his kid's making some names right now as well, making a name for himself, Sheldon. So yeah, I could see. I'd love to race Steve Kinzer or honestly, right now, Jack. I've never seen Jack race. I ought to look. I'm gonna have to look into that now. But I'm gonna tell you what, Sheldon Haudenschild seems like he's a nice kid, and I'd love to share a racetrack with him because he seems like he knows what he ain't messing around when he gets out on that racetrack. Um, let's see. All right, this is gonna be my final question. Yeah. All right, so this is gonna be my final question. And then we got a little new segment I want to start, and he knows about it. I know about it. Out of all the things you get to do as a race car driver, what has to be your favorite?
Just the whole aspect of racing, strapping in for a feature, and when there is fans, it's there's no feeling like it when the lights go out going into 3 and 4, and they come over the radio and say we're going green on the front. It still makes my heart pound. I still get a wicked surge of adrenaline and anxiety at the same time, and it's go time. So it's just that feeling of racing.
Mm-hmm. First of all, actually, you know what? We'll do that afterwards. I'm starting a new segment on the channel for everybody at home. I'm gonna have the drivers because every driver it seems like has to have something that either it's vintage or it's just something that means the world to them in the racing world. For example, Shane Andrews was just on the show, and he was telling me about how he has a door panel that Jack Johnson signed. So I told Scott to find something that maybe he has in his shop or that he has lying around that was cool to him and he's got a story behind it. I also grabbed something myself, but I'll let Scott share what he's got first. Scott, what do you got, and then what's the story behind it? I'll give you a second.
Well, I mean, as a experience goes, Jack Johnson's probably one of the coolest to me, and I got to meet him, and he helped my dad scale a car once. Story-wise, that was a cool moment for me in my racing career. But memorabilia-wise, I don't have a ton, but I do have this thing, which dates my father, which is, it's a 1989 pamphlet from the Niska banquet. And on the back, basically, I was 8 or 9 years old. I got all these signatures, and a lot of people would know the names. I mean, there's Pete Corey, Kenny Shoemaker, Jerry Townley, Bill Wimble, Steve Danish, Paul Marshall, Jeep Herbert, Tony Milano, Randy Charland. These are all guys that are just like heroes of the past, and they started all this stuff with modified racing. Jack Johnson, and it's just like, it's a cool thing to still have, and I honestly, I don't even know if, I think half these guys have passed away, and it might actually, Ed Betty Sr. might take this and frame it and put it in the Fonda Museum.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's cool to have. I've heard of Kenny Shoemaker out of all of them. I think Kenny Shoemaker's the only one that really rung a bell. My item I grabbed, this item is cool for everybody at home. You can tell it says the name Tremont on it. Here's your glimpse at it. So this past year at Malta, there's an accident where Kenny went over into turn one and sent the car 500 feet in the air, went rolling down almost into the woods. And I got talking with his son Montgomery after the wreck. And I said, "Do you think I can get a panel off that?" And Montgomery said, "Yeah, sure. Let's go. I'll get you in touch, and I'll be able to get you something." So I go to Devil's Bowl for the small block, big block race. And he walked over to me with this. He goes, "I'm assuming this is what you were asking for." And I looked at him like, "Wow, that's cool." And I actually went over, had Kenny sign it right there. So Kenny's signature is on that for everybody at home. Kenny's signature is right there. So Kenny Tremont signed this. And so yeah, I got a little piece of memorabilia myself with Kenny Tremont's. I mean, yeah, it's a little bent up, just a little, but you know, it's cool to have something in the Tremont from the Tremont family name in my collection of stuff that I have. So that was my cool item. I figured I would show everybody at home here today. So,
That's really cool. Kenny's cool.
Yeah, Kenny's a legend in his own right. So everybody loves Kenny Tremont. So when I saw that wreck, I'm like, well, he ain't getting anything out of that car. That car's gone. I said, all right, I'm friends with Montgomery. I'm like, all right, I'm all right. I'm like, all right, Monty, what can you do for me? And he was able to hook it up with that panel. So I have that forever now. And I also have a couple other big panels out in the garage. When Chad Jessio destroyed the car this year on the front stretch at Malta, I have pieces off of that. My buddy Brendan Gibbons, you might know him. He gave me a door off his car, so I have quite a few little collections of stuff that I have. Any questions you have for me?
God, how long you been going to the races?
Well, per se, probably since I was maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember it, but the only thing I remember back in that day was Craig Hansen, the bad wreck that he had at Fonda where Alan Barker spun on the front stretch and Hansen came in full throttle and he hit Alan Barker so hard that both of the cars got stuck together. That's about all I remember from back then. I may have been there when Scarborough took a roll over in turn 1 and caught on fire. I don't recall. I'm gonna say probably when I was 2 or 3 years old. My dad's big friends with the guys that used to run the Syracuse Ghetto. You might know that. So he's friends with them guys, and they have a pit party. They have a pit party down at Fonda or out in the parking lot party out every week, usually at Fonda until COVID hit, and it would be in the back corner. So they all hang out there, and I've been like known growing up with them guys. Like that's pretty much the people I hung out with racing. But then I started this podcast, got my name out there. Jay Severson, the guy that announces at Fonda, started loving me. Took me up to the Ridge on Sunday night. It was like mid year, maybe. It was the week Ryan Heath got his first win up there, and I went up there, announced with him, or I got on the mic for the first time. So my first time on the mic was the Fonda the night before. I did a little bit of like limited sportsman action, I called it. But then Sunday I got to call like all the races up there because there's only two announcers usually up at the Ridge. It's either Danny or if there is a replacement. So for example, I was up there for that night, so it was cool to hang out with Jay, and I got to call all the action up there. And then just this recently, which this is news to everybody now, just as recently, a couple weeks ago, I got reached out by Ray, which is the guy that runs up the track up there, Ray Saffarin, and Butch Hazard, and they both said they wanted me back for next year. So I'm announcing full time at the Ricks next year. So I've really expressed myself out to the world. Yeah. Anything else you want to ask?
No, that's all. I was curious to know how long you've been in it and if that's what you were going to do this year.
I don't know because you have a different car. You have a car owner and all that. We have these made for the YouTube channel. Stickers. A lot of drivers have them on their cars. If you want to put one on your car, I'm going to be ordering some more. I'm going to take some down to Volusia with me in February, and I'm going to have more made up. So hopefully, maybe this year I'll definitely be at Malt at least once or twice. So I'll run into you. Maybe we'll be able to throw one of these on your race car, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever need anything, let me know because I do design work. I do all my own cars and do a bunch other cars as well. I do all the design work for DE Designs. So if you ever need anything, don't be afraid to ask.
Okay, so I'll talk to you about that afterwards. Any sponsors or family you want to give a shout out to? I'm going to give a shout out to somebody you know. I'm a family friend with Scott and Jolene Courts. Okay, and I know Madison's. You know Madison very well, and I guess Madison is tuning in on the show. So shout out to Madison, and I'll let you do the rest. It's open mic. You can shout out sponsors, family, anybody you want to give a shout out to.
Absolutely, Madison one of my biggest fans, and Scott and Jolene as well. They've always supported me. But no, I obviously gotta thank my family, my wife Jade and my daughter Peyton. It's been different having a family and going to the races together, so it's a lot of fun now. But and also my family, my dad, my mom, my stepmom, my stepdad, my sisters, everybody, my whole crew. They all are there week in and week out. Justin, Luke, Andy, Bill, Johnny, Don, Dennis. There's a pile of guys that show up every week. Brandon, Chris, Dick. Obviously, got to thank my car owner Dick Bisson because he basically makes it happen. Wouldn't have it without him. So the Bisson Motorsports team, Benson's Pet Center, they've been with me a long time. Dane's Auto Repair, Bisson Auto Repair, just guys have been with me a long time. I thank all of them because without their support, I couldn't do it at all. And the whole Stratton family, they were one big racing family. So thankful to everybody.
One more shout out to Damon Anderson. He's also tuning in. Damon's like, you and Damon are close as well. I know Damon pretty well. But for everybody watching at home, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is Scott Duell, driver of the number 14 Bisson, number 14X. He races at Malta and like he said, a couple other tracks earlier on the episode. I am Brady Hauser. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. We will be back Thursday, I believe. We have Mike Goulart coming on the show, I do believe. You guys will stay tuned for that. And we're getting ready for Volusia. Like I said, we're going to Volusia in February, so we're going to be doing some stuff down there. Like I said, I hope we can get to talk to Kyle Larson. That's our goal. I mean, if we can, we're gonna give it a shot. So but that's beside the point. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell when you get a chance. If you won't miss a notification whenever I post a video, you're gonna get that notification. Hey, Brady Hauser posted a video, so you won't miss that. And just stay tuned. We do have some other guests joining us. Volusia is still 3-4 weeks out, so I still have time to film. We got quite a few guests still lined up for the next couple of weeks. A couple maybe guests that you're all gonna know. And we have an ARCA driver also joining us, I believe, Sunday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And other than that, like I said, that's Scott Duell, the driver number 14. I am Brady Hauser. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Take care.